Hey you, I am Evan Bacon, and today I'm going to be talking about using native Firebase features in an Expo app, specifically for Android. Alright, last time we set up a Firebase project, we created an Expo app, we ejected that Expo app, and then we added some basic code for signing in anonymously. And today we are going to be setting up the Android app in our Firebase project, and then we're going to be installing the Expo Firebase library in our ejected Expo Android app. For this to work, you will need Android Studio and any kind of computer you want, because it's not Apple. Alright, let's jump in. The first thing you're going to want to do, go over to your Firebase project. Last time we set up this thing, YouTube Beta thing, I don't know why I call it that. It's on the Firebase console, and we're just going to go over here and hit Add App and do the Android version. Now you're going to want to use your package name. You set this up when you eject from an Expo project. We used com.evanbacon.youtube. And then you don't need to do any of this. You can edit that stuff later. You can't edit the package name later, so make sure to get that one right. Of course, you could always delete this and then create another app inside of the project. It will have access to all the same data. Register that app. And now download the Google services.json. I don't know if we can do it in this. There we go. We got it. Alright, so now we're going to copy that JSON into our ejected Expo Android project. Just go over to Finder, wherever you have the thing. Wow, I have a bunch of these. And then go to your root directory, Android app. And then you'll see we have the Google services from our Expo project. Let's just go ahead and delete that one and replace it with our new Firebase one, like that. Alright, so now we can open Android Studio and install the libraries. Go ahead, open up Android Studio, open an existing Android Studio project, go to your root folder, open up Android, and then hit open. It's a little bit weirder than opening something in Xcode, but it's not that weird. Alright, so while we wait for this to sync, what we're going to do is go over to the NPM page and then get the instructions for installing the Expo Firebase app in Android. So go over to Chrome or your browser of choice, npmjs.com/package/Expo Firebase app. Now, of course, as I discussed last time, this is the core Expo Firebase module. You need this to reference any of the different Firebase services in Expo Firebase. So right here we have the Android instructions, and these are pretty straightforward. You have to add some stuff to settings. This will allow our Android project to know where the library code is located. In this case, it will be located in our node modules folder under the node module Expo Firebase app. This is pretty standard with any React Native package. We're also going to add Expo Core. Now this will allow our universal modules to work with React Native. And then we're going to add a line to our build.gradle. What this is going to do is allow our Android project to access that Expo Firebase library. Finally, we are going to add the package inside of this Expo packages thing in the main activity file. What this does is allow our Expo code to access that library. Alright, so it's pretty straightforward. Let's go ahead and add this. First one we should do is the settings, because of course we already yarn installed these in the last video. Whoa, no thank you. Stranger danger. Of course, if you don't want to watch that video, in your root directory, just type yarn add Expo Firebase app, and then we also, in this tutorial, are using auth and database and performance and analytics. Go ahead and add all of those. Now let's come over here, everything that we're going to need for the most part. Whoa, stop. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to want to do, go to settings.gradle and add the Expo Core and Expo Firebase app library references in here. So I copied and pasted the first one over, include Expo Core, and then node modules. So what we can do at this point is just copy and paste this down a few more times. I can't remember exactly how many. And then just change these to be the names of our libraries. I'll just do that real quick. Alright, looks good to me. So before we go about syncing, we're going to do a couple more Gradle changes. Go over here to your app build.gradle. So you'll see build.gradle will say app right next to it. Scroll all the way to the bottom. And right after this block of comments, we're going to add API project with the Expo core library and then Expo Firebase. We can apply this to all the other libraries as well. Man, I keep guessing right with all these random copy and pastes. Alright, at this point, you can sync your project, and then for the last thing, we just need to go over to that main activity as is specified right here and add these things to the Expo package. So let's just copy this whole block. No. Right in this Expo packages function right here, paste the contents of the function from the README. So the reason you want to use Android Studio as opposed to like VS Code is because when you add these libraries, it will automatically import those statements at the top of the file. If you don't use Android Studio, then you will need to manually write those imports at the top of the file yourself. I can show you what those look like here in a second. So right here we have the imports that you'll need to include if you don't use Android Studio to write these, although I definitely recommend that you do use Android Studio as you need it to build onto the Android device. At this point, we should be able to build a project which will run all of our JS code from the last video, and this means that we'll have access to the auth analytics performance monitoring database, and then of course just all the other stuff if you decide to add it. It's pretty simple, and again, all the instructions are there in the npm package, and they're very similar to these ones right here. There's also a boiler, which you can check out somewhere around this general page. I always use that whenever I make a new detached ExpoKit project for Firebase, which is a very specific thing to always do. Anyways, guys, that is about it. You should now have everything you need to build really incredible social applications with Firebase. If you had a problem setting this up, or if there was something I missed, feel free to leave a comment below or find me on Twitter, message me at this. Also, of course, guys, share the stuff that you've been making as well. We're super interested in seeing it at Expo. We love to see what you guys are building. And that's it. Bye.